Hi, Steve. First of all, the big trade. What appealed there with John Gibson?
Well, obviously we try to make the trade to upgrade ourselves in net. John has been throughout the course of his career been a proven starter and a good starter in the NHL. And as Anaheim's gone through their rebuilding process, um, probably probably affected his play a little bit. And as their team gets better, and they have a good young goaltender in Dostal. Um, John looking for more opportunity to play, and we're counting on him obviously to give us quality starts and upgrade our team in net.
The last few seasons have certainly shown the wisdom or necessity for having three goalies on the team, more or less. Do you see, though, between him and Cam handling it, or do you still envision a third?
Um, Honestly, I consider a third, with Sebastian and Michael Postava signed coming over from the Czech Republic. Um, we'd like to see initially, while we think we know what we have in Sebastian. Again, as I sit today, I think Sebastian needs more time in the American League, and we're counting on him to play well. Michael played extremely well in the Czech League, and we'll see how he adapts over here his first time over. It's something to consider. It is something that we will consider. A third goaltender. Obviously, John's cap hit is bigger than, say, Peter Mrazek's, or so that changes our cap a little bit. And I guess determining whether we carry a third will, or can carry a third for that matter, will be determined by what, if anything, we do over the course of the off season, and see what we have for cap space to potentially carry a third. But certainly not opposed to it. In the league, it's become kind of a most teams, majority of teams, don't do it in the last 2 years. Really wasn't our plan, as we've talked about before, Helene, but it's been a necessity, and it's helped us.
And just on the subject of the off season, where are you at with Patrick Kane? It sounded hopeful on both sides when the season ended that there would be a deal, and now I know last
Yeah,
year it was on the
yeah,
night before,
well,
but
I still expect us to get a deal done with Patrick. It's a busy time for everyone. I've had some discussions with both Patrick and Pat Brisson, his agent, and once you get around the draft, the agents have a lot of other things they're doing as well. So I'm hopeful that we can get something done soon, and that's my intention. So we'll see if we can't get that done shortly.
lastly, just do you feel you're positioned pretty well going into free agency just in terms of space, cap space and such, even with adding a little bit in Gibson?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Ed?
Hey, Steve, what will you be looking for heading into Tuesday? I mean, any anything specific or and the thing is it doesn't seem like that class this year is as deep as previous summers. Does that kind of play into it too?
Definitely. I mean, anybody can go and look at the list of potential free agents, um, and see there aren't that many, and players that you would think will have an impact. They're very few this year for whatever reason. Uh, so yeah, again, we're going to go into it. If we could, we'll look at the defense position. We'll look at virtually, I think any of the centermen are signed, at least to play high up in the lineup. We'll look, potentially to add a winger as well.
Hey, this weekend's draft class, and I put a bow tie on it. What'd you think of it? I mean, was there anything specific you guys were looking for in this draft class or whatnot?
I mean, just obviously good prospects. We don't we don't necessarily, draft by position. We always try at least this stage and of where we're at is, I think you're still trying to get the best prospect, and we put them in that order. And every team will say, how do you feel about it? We're happy with what we were able to accomplish here in the draft. We like all the kids that we've got. We're excited about Carter in the first round, a player that fits in, that type of player that will fit in very well for us, a left winger. He'll be good. The remainder of the group here, we're all good prospects. We're able to get a couple of defensemen, several forwards. Eddie Genborg, not sure how familiar you are with him, but big, strong, powerful, good skater, hard worker, could be a real good checker for us, we think. And out throughout the group, we had another goaltender, big goaltender, young boy. We'll see if he can develop over time as well. So, again, our scouts feel good about it, and we are able to address some needs as far as depth in the prospect pool. And we'll try to do our best and to be patient and develop them and help them along the way to become professional players and hopefully play for the Red Wings.
Sounds good. Thanks for this, Steve.
No problem.
Answer.
Yeah, Steve, you're talking about a potential third goalie. Have you had any recent talks with Alex Lyon? Is he still a possibility?
I've been trading calls all week with his agent. I haven't had a chance to talk to him today or yesterday. So I will. My plan is to circle back with him to see what they're, just to circle back with them. Obviously, we make a significant move today. We both had earlier in the off season had expressed an interest in, him coming back and, potentially to be part of a 3 goalie system or a 10 or a group, I guess. And I still plan to reach out. I may, they may simply, I don't know what they'll say, honestly. And I would, yes, out of respect and out of interest, I will be planning on speak with them again.
Also, I think you have until Monday to decide on whether to buy out anybody. Is that a possibility still, or have you eliminated that possibility?
I don't. As of now, I don't expect to do that, to buy anybody out at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Mosey.
Steve, the month of June is just so jam-packed. You have the draft, free agency, development camp. I guess, how do you as a staff kind of lean on each other in some areas where you can only handle so much at one time? And what does that might look like?
Well, Dan Cleary will oversee the, getting ready for the development camp, which the kids will start coming in tomorrow. He does all the planning for that and will run the camp. Sean Horkoff is, doing the preparation for his roster in Grand Rapids in the American League. We have Chris, Jesse, and Hawken who really do all the grunt work or the preparation, the intel with the amateur scouts to prepare for the draft. And then, a week ago, everybody comes in and we're all sitting together and, you start to plan for the draft. You have your, over the last 3 weeks between the combine, your pro scouting meetings, the amateur scouting meetings. Month of June is a very, very busy month, and kind of rely on every department to do their thing. For myself, you're trying to stay on top of it all, but really the preparation for the draft is up to the amateur scouts. With the pro staff, we sit together and we go over our team. We go over all the potential free agents, spend time on the phone with all the teams around the league to see if there's any common ground or common interests, how we can work out a deal together. So, this and it goes for probably everybody in the industry. The month of June in particular, the last 2 weeks of June and the first week of July, you don't sleep a lot.
Thank you.
Max.
Hey, Steve, with how Marco finished the year at center, I mean, you guys have a few guys there that play kind of center in that middle six. I'm just curious how you see that shaking out between Marco, Kopp, and JT.
Well, that ultimately probably a better question for Todd, myself. All like you mentioned, those three, all three of them can play wing. I'd add Michael Rasmussen to that mix of guys who were historically centermen. They all can play the wing. I would say, you know, my thought today is, as you mentioned, the way Marco finished the season. You know, you have Dylan, Marco, JT, and Andrew either, and again, that's a question for Todd. They can play on the same line together. One can play the wing or center. Ultimately, you know, if the face-offs if they're playing together, the face-offs on the left side, Andrew will take the draws and start to shift as a center, and it's on the right side. JT can do that, or if and do whatever Todd do whatever he wants with the fourth centerman, or you can just go those four guys right down the middle, depending on how he wants to use his form his lines, and that'll probably be, you know, tweaked and adjusted over the course of the season. But all those guys can play center or wing, so I'll let Todd sort it out.
And then I know on the broadcast you talked about how there may be more teams than players in free agency, particularly when it comes to the D. Do you feel like there's a viable trade market there if that's a place you guys want to pursue?
I'm not sure it's viable is the right word. I'm going to look into it. They're just, you know, there aren't a lot of options right now. You know, I guess I would say when I'm talking to teams right now, everybody wants, you know, the teams I'm talking to, they want players, much like we want players. What do we have to offer? Like, I don't want to trade our core players. You know, you trade whatever a young centerman for a young centerman. You know, I'm looking to add to our team and use, you know, our I guess our future assets for that. And right now, teams are all looking to add players to their team, kind of do the same thing what we're trying to do. So I'm not sure. Well, we'll keep trying. There's a couple of somewhat interesting options, but I think now everybody's going to focus on free agency for a few days, and then I think kind of see where it shakes out. Who's been able to accomplish or address some of their needs through free agency, and who've missed, or teams that have been able to accomplish what they need to now need to move out bodies. So we'll kind of go through the free agency period here probably, and then see how that shakes out.
And then one last thing for me, I know Edvinsson becomes eligible for an extension early next week. Is that on your radar for this summer, or you think that's more of a next year conversation with him?
I've personally thought about it. We've thought about it internally. Haven't had any discussions with Simon or his representatives. Something to consider. Right now, you know, Max, we're focused on the draft, or I mean the free agency period. We've got our pending RFAs in Albert, Elmer, and Jonathan. Sorry, the three of them. Hopefully, get deals done with all three of them, and then we can kind of decide, debate if we want to, you know, start reaching out to guys for the future, i.e. Simon.
Thank you.
Bob Duff?
Yeah, Steve, you mentioned Michael Postava there. We haven't had a chance to talk to you since you signed him. What did you see in him that you like about him? And at his age and his experience, is it realistic to think he can play in the AHL next year?
Well, I think it's very realistic that he can play in the AHL next year. I haven't seen him do it, so that's the only question mark. But it was 22, I think. He had an outstanding year. One of our scouts, Peter Jarls in Europe, who lives in the Czech Republic, has watched him all year and really pushed hard for him. Thinks he's watched him climb through every league, and I think the next step for him after a really good year is to go to the American League. Is he going to be? You know, what time will tell. But we think he'll be able to play there. We think he'll be more than fine there. The only reason for cause for caution or doubt is because he hasn't been over here yet. But based on everything, you know, I watched a lot of him on video, really, his games, and he played very well. Led his team to the Czech League Championship. So the next step for him is to go to North America and play in the American League. And time will tell how We're hoping he's very good, obviously, but we'll see. And our expectation is that it'll be fine.
Lexan was announcing on their website that you're going to be loaning Anton Johansson to them for this upcoming season. It's what went into that, making that the logical choice for him.
Well, to be honest, it was Anton's decision. We had a long talk with him about coming over. As I'm sure I don't know if you went and watched, but you're aware he came over and played in Grand Rapids at the end of the season, and played very well. And we met with him. He's still a young man. Our obligation in signing him is, or if he's going, if we were to come to camp next year. And not make the Red Wings, we would first have to offer him back to his to Lexon, and we just thought when at the end of the season we spoke with Anton, his agent, as well as his representatives, his father, who happens to be the GM in Lexon, and say, look here, we want this to be your decision, because we knew he was thinking about staying in Sweden. Ultimately, we said either is a good option. We think based on what we saw in the end of the season in playoffs in GR, that he would be more than fine here. And ultimately, we wanted him, much like Albert Johansson made this decision 4 years ago now, that he wanted to play one more year in Sweden, and we're okay with it. One, we want these boys or these young men to be mentally ready when they come over and prepared, and he's in a good situation, and he ultimately decided that he wanted to start the season. He wanted to get off to a good start in Lexon, so he'll make that decision early, and he can just focus on the off season getting ready. But we're very excited about him as a prospect, and I think for us it's just a matter of being patient and helping him out along the way, and whatever guidance we can offer until he comes over. And but yeah, we're very comfortable with that decision.
And lastly, one other guy we haven't had a chance to ask you about yet, Edwards Trollmach's different kind of European free agent in that he's played over here quite extensively and has AHL experience. Does that make him a little more intriguing?
Yeah, right now the plan, I don't rule anybody out from coming and making the Red Wings in the fall, but right now our plan would be, he has been over here. He's a big body, big heavy guy. You probably saw him at the World Championships. Played very well there, and we come over and he has a chance to be an impact player in the American League, and a guy potentially that could be a call up for the Red Wings.
Thanks a lot, Steve.
Yep, no problem.
Kevin Allen.
Yeah, Steve, I heard you talk on during the draft, being interviewed there, and you talked about how you and Pat had talked about a possible deal, but the timing wasn't right because of the injury. Did you leave it at that point of, maybe we'll talk about it after the season? And, in your postseason talk, you talked about, you were hoping if there was an opportunity to upgrade goaltending, you would do it. But, the free agent market was thin and there wasn't a lot of teams willing to trade goalies. Did you see him kind of as your best and only option when you were thinking about trying to upgrade your goaltending and put a lot of effort in that?
Well, I wouldn't say it's our only option. Now, having said that, I'm not sure the other discussions I've had with any other teams got to the point where it was like a real option for either of us. Ultimately, thought this was, we take into account the player we're acquiring, what we have to give up to acquire him. So what I like about this is, we think John has a lot of good hockey in him. We're obviously very hopeful of that. We believe in it, but thought it was a good option. He signed for two seasons. And that gives both of us options to see how things play out.
And then secondly, I just wanted to ask about the Yzerman re-signing. Was it as simple as, he can come in and help if you guys need help defensively, if you had injuries, and also he can help Grand Rapids. And
Sorry.
was he?
Yeah. Who's that? Who are you referring to?
William Yzerman.
Oh, Lagesson. Okay. Yeah. William. Yep. So initially at the start of the year, William was signed as, we assigned him to GR and thought he would be an excellent call up, a really good, solid veteran in the minors and a player that we could use in the NHL, and which we did. And we really liked the person, but I thought he played extremely well in GR. And in a limited role up here, he got some games in and played. So he had expressed an interest to come back, and I know Sean and Ellen Walsh worked for a while over the last few weeks to get a deal done. So we're pretty excited to have him back in the organization. He's a real good fit for us, has shown an ability to come up and play here, and has been outstanding for us on and off the ice in the locker room in GR.
Thank you.
Sean Shapiro.
Hey, Steve. This might be a Todd question, but I'll ask you since we're talking to you. Where are you guys right now on filling out Todd's staff for next season? I know there was obviously some changes with the goalie coach. You had a coach leave to go take the job in Philly. Where are you right now on kind of filling those things out from a housekeeping perspective?
Well, we were in the process of, hiring a goaltender coach. And as far as the coaching staff, that's really the last position we intend to fill right now.
Are there any other changes that you just because obviously I know July 1 is kind of the end of the calendar year for everything scouts. Like, are you expecting any other changes for staffing wise from your side of the operations that you have to work on and fill this summer?
Yes. Kevin Gibson, who was an amateur scout that oversaw the Midwest USHL, was hired. Was hired by Waterloo in the USHL as the general manager. So we're very happy for Kevin. It's a great opportunity for him to move forward in his career in hockey operations. So we'll be Chris Draper will be looking to add an amateur scout in the Midwest, the USHL in particular. Phil O'Sear, who has been worked in goaltending and player and goaltender development for us, is going to leave at least the professional hockey or hockey operations role to go into a private or an opportunity in the business sector, I guess I'll call it. So we, in all likely, will make some tweaks to how we do our how we handle scouting the goaltenders and work in development with our prospects that aren't in Grand Rapids or Toledo.
And then one last housekeeping thing, just two prospect notes, not ones that were drafted today. First off, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but Buchnelkov playing, and I know what's kind of the timeline for him, and then just from more locally, I believe Red Savage's rights expire August 15th. So, and he had obviously the injury at the end of the last season. So just two housekeeping notes on those two.
Dmitry Buchelnikov, he has another year on his contract. He was playing, I got to think of the name of the team that he was playing on, but I don't even know how to say it. Vityaz, I think, Vitsav. Their team folded. His contract was sold to Siska, the Red Army team in Moscow. He's under contract with them for another season. As far as we know, he's playing for Siska this year, and our hope would be that he comes over next year, but we can't guarantee that. It'll really be his decision on what he wants to do. But he's a very nice young man and a very good, talented young player, and we're hopeful that we can get him over here at some point sooner than later.
What about Red? Just coming off the
so yeah, Red's contract his rights expire August 15th. It's more of a question for Sean Horkoff, but I think, and I haven't got an update. Sean's been in Los Angeles at the draft with his son and doing some work for us. But I think we've had some discussions that's over and I haven't got an update on it, but potentially bringing Red remaining in the fold on some type of contract.
I thank you.
Yep.
All right, we've got time for two more. We'll go to Wojo first, and then we'll end with Will Birchfield.
Hey there, Steve. How are you?
Good, Woj. How are you?
Good, thanks. you had mentioned at the end of the season exploring all avenues. You trade players, you spend money for free agents and all that, and not a lot has transpired around the league. Um, how do you handle that? Are you stuck essentially and without being able to make many moves? Do you look at more restricted free agents? Do you look at maybe trading one of your core players? How do you get unstuck from this situation?
What do you mean by stuck?
Well, because at the end of the season, you had said you wanted to
Yeah,
make moves. I think you mentioned all the possibilities, and it hasn't been easy to do so far.
yeah. I mean, like when I talk to teams, you know the players they want. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that doesn't make me any better. I want to keep these players. I want to add to it. Am I willing to trade a core player? Maybe, but it doesn't make necessarily sense to trade, like take any position and trade that to create a hole at that position to fill in another one, So I'm trying to, we're trying to look at spot where we can bring in, take any position and put a player in there that makes us better. And saying that, I want them to be, young enough that they fit in with our core group. So right now, everybody wants they want our young players. And, I like our young players and I'd like to keep them and I'd like to add to that group. So at some point, something will come along, whether it's a free agent, whether it's a team, maybe it's this summer, maybe somebody goes and, spends a lot of money in free agency. Now they've got to move somebody and maybe there's a fit. Now they're looking for a draft pick or a prospect for that player. So all I can do is, continue to work the phone, continue to explore and look for opportunities. And at some point, something will come along. But for, to go, like, I don't think anybody wants me to trade any of our young players for, a draft pick or a prospect that doesn't move us forward at this stage. So
It just seems
I don't feel stuck. It's just being patient and you know what, and maybe we simply, if we can't do anything, maybe we get better simply by Marco takes another step, Simon takes another step, Albert takes another step. Maybe one of these young guys that played in GR last year, whoever it is it takes another step and goes on our team. So all I can tell you is, I'm going to keep trying. We will keep trying, but the worst thing I can do is make a move out of desperation or panic and move our young players out here. That it doesn't make us any better.
it just seems quick follow up that having salary cap space is not the advantage, as much of an advantage as you would think it would be.
Well, again, there's just not that many, players. Everybody has cap space. Everybody's looking to add to their team.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the situation all around the league. Every team I talk to is, like, we're looking for this player, we're looking for that player, and nobody's really selling off. Will they after July 1? Will somebody have players expendable at that point? Possibly.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, last question. We'll go to Will Birchfield.
Steve, just to follow up on Woj's follow up, have you had, and maybe you can only answer this in theory, but have you had trade talks over the past couple of days where if a team had asked for, say, a high level prospect instead of a young roster player, you would have accepted that deal?
Well, I can't say. I would certainly look at that for the right young player. I would use I would use our picks and our prospects to get a really good young player that's in the NHL for sure.
And then just back to Gibson quickly, and you touched on this a little bit off the top, but his numbers last year obviously marked a pretty big spike from really the prior 5 years. And obviously he's played behind some admittedly leaky teams in Anaheim. But what gives you the faith that what he showed last year in a relatively small sample is what you guys can expect from him in Detroit?
Well, we're hopeful that, and again, John has historically throughout his career been a good goaltender. Anaheim went through a rebuilding process, and I shouldn't say slowly, they are coming out of that. We're sitting here today banking that John has battled through that he's going to be able to maintain a high level, and we like to think we're a reasonably solid team that's moving forward. That he'll be fine in this role. Like it's like I don't want to say it's we just think he's a good goaltender. He's the best option for us right now on what was available, and we're hopeful and expecting him to to perform at a high level next year.
Thank you, Steve.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, no problem. Chris Draper's up. Thanks, everyone.